Somebody told me, who was very wise, said, if for every illness, 30% is actual illness, 70% is mental. So please do not be afraid. Be nice to your neighbors. Always try to be calm. And whatever happens in the next 2, 3, 4, 6 months, just remember, always be forbearant and try to be compassionate, but be firm, and to not have fear. This fear actually creates a digital field throughout the entire world, and that can actually cause worse things to happen.
Hey friends, before we begin this interview with Cyrus A. Parsa, just a quick word from our sponsor. Collagen may be the closest thing we'll ever get to a real fountain of youth. In fact, many health experts now agree that consuming collagen is as crucial as it gets to renewing and revitalizing how you look and feel. Collagen is the most abundant protein in your body, and it essentially is the glue that holds you together. In fact, after age 20, people produce about 12% less collagen in their skin each and every decade. This means by the time you're middle age, you could be producing less than half the collagen you did in your youth. Even worse, things like poor diet, smoking, pollution, and yes, stress can delete your collagen levels even faster. So visit my site, healthwithsgt.com, and purchase the only collagen on the market that I trust. Make your hair healthy and younger looking, support joint flexibility, it strengthens nails, teeth, and gums, promotes strong, healthy muscles, tendons, and ligaments, stronger bones, and supports digestive health. Support your health today with collagen. This is my trusted source. I'll leave the link below this interview. Hey friends, welcome back. Thank you so very much for clicking play. It's wonderful to have you back. In a world gone mad, we're going to take back some of our control with some very important information from Cyrus A. Parsa. He's the CEO and founder of the AI Organization. You can find his YouTube channel under that name, the AI Organization. He's published a book called Artificial Intelligence, Dangers to Humanity. And guess what? He's sued at the federal level Google, Alphabet, DeepMind, Facebook, Neuralink, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, Sergey Brin, and others for the misuse of AI for endangering all citizens on the planet and the coming AI systems, 5G networks, quantum technology that's now being transferred to the Chinese government, which is militarizing all of it. Very important story. Cyrus Parsa, how are you?
Quite well. Thank you for having me on your show, Sean.
Well, thanks for coming on. A shout out to John Robertson over there at Caravan to Midnight for helping get us in touch with each other. First, just a little background. Can you tell people about yourself, your education, and what is driving you to take on this evil empire?
Well, I'm originally from Iran. I came here in 1987 because our family was not Muslim. We had to escape the revolution. Iran actually has a socialist platform embedded within their Islamic regime. Lived in Europe for a bit, and then Virginia maybe for about 7 years, Illinois for 10 years, and been San Diego for about 17 or 18 years. I have a bachelor's in international security and conflict resolution, master's in homeland security, and I spent almost a year in the mountains of China with fighting monks when I was younger. And initially I wrote a book, and I didn't publish it, and finished in 2002, about 800 pages. It's called Better People, Better World, the book to save and change a better world. And it concluded about maybe 100 different chapters. There were sub-chapters and interconnected the big tech, the geopolitics of the world, all the conflicts we have, my attempt to kind of make the world a better place and stop future dangers. Well, didn't have a degree, it wasn't known, and no one would take me seriously. The media wouldn't take me seriously, so I put aside, went to school and stuff. So I formed the AI Organization in 2018 after I had formed Loyal Guardian Security, and I saw quite a bit of threats coming in from China, largely for the past 20 years of me investigating China. So one of the main things I found was microbiotic terrorism. It's a term I coined, and that involves, so the WIS Institute out of Boston, they're developing insect drones. They're actually meant for pollination. They're actually robotics. They're very small. DARPA, which is not DARPA, it's DARPA out of Boston. They're working on cybernetically enhanced dragonflies. That information was given to DARPA, the invention, I think in 2011 or so, given to DARPA years prior to that. What happened was the Chinese government, through IP theft, through collaboration and sharing and so on, extracted all these know-how and took it to China. And what they're doing is they're putting facial recognition on these little insect drones they're attempting to, and to build poison delivery systems. So that's a threat that could be mobilized on a 5G network. Initially I published AI Trump China and the weaponization of robotics with 5G. This was August 24, 2019. My conclusion was the world is in danger from China and big tech with bioengineering, even biodiseases, machines, drones, everything, the interconnection on the BRI, which is One Belt, One Road. Previously to that, I had given a 62-page report including about 42 companies, Chinese companies, and the conclusion was to this former director of CIA cover-ups, who was with 3 presidents, that China threatens all the world's citizens on the coming network within the next year or two. About 4 months or 5 months prior to that, in secret, I gave the Secret Service and a sort of a Trump contact in Washington, D.C., a report. It was a 5-page brief stating that if big tech and China are not reined in within the next 1 to 2 years, they endanger all the world's citizens on the coming AI and 5G system with bioengineering, all different kind of things, that they threatened all the world's citizens. So initially when I published this book, AI Trump China and the Weaponization of Robotics of 5G, there were some senior high-level CIA people that knew my contact in Department of Homeland Security in California, dispatched Trump administration in the White House. They got confirmation. And then I think it was 3 weeks later, Trump is sitting down with the Australian president and says, China threatens all the world's citizens, something of that nature. And then he turns and he says, do you do robotics? So they knew, but the way I wrote the book was I didn't put any company names. I wanted to give the Trump administration time for him to ban those companies. Then I was trying to get the media to pick me up. Nobody picked me up. World's people are in danger. Please pick me up. No one picked me up. I published Artificial Intelligence Danger to Humanity, which has the first book embedded inside of it. That book put about 50 companies out of the 1,000 companies I researched. I researched over 1,000 companies that relate to artificial intelligence, 5G systems, robotics, cybernetics, bioengineering, and of course the geopolitics of the entire world, specifically China and less or so Iran and our big tech companies. And the conclusion was the same. I think about 4 weeks later, Trump's AI department did the same thing. China threatens the whole world with AI, bioengineering, so on, so on. And this information was mobilized in many think tanks, many elements behind the scenes. And this book is very complex in the interim and the ending parts, because it has to do with present danger, emerging dangers, and future dangers. So the future dangers seem very complex and maybe science fiction. It's because these big tech companies, they're not sharing with you guys what they have cooked up for the past 5 or 10 years. And the biggest threat is actually forming an AI super intelligence that connects to an AI digital brain, connecting to the 5G and 6 and 7G systems that mobilizes drones, microbots, machines, or even viruses, all kind of different things that could pretty much end all of humanity. Because what these big tech companies want to do is they want to become artificial intelligence. Like Elon Musk said in 2016, we're summoning the demons. Then a year later he says, it's too late. For us to survive, we have to merge for artificial intelligence. So I'm thinking, 1 year he's saying it's too late, we should not do this. And a year later he's saying, for us to survive, we have to merge for artificial intelligence. What kind of psychological shift is that? So they're pushing all these things and they want to merge people with machines. So these smartphones here, people have been used to these smartphones for the past, 5 or 7 years. And I discovered that there's proximity sensors that connect your nervous system and even connect your neural networks. What it's doing is not only just reading your biometrics and giving it back to Google for the quantum technology, but what it's doing is actually manipulating you. So I wrote an article and I put out a video called People Programmed to Attack Trump with AI, social media, smartphones, and Google, and so on. So when people are viewing the content within this smartphone, whether it's a video or audio or it's a social media, that content actually replicates in their brain and alters your brain chemistry, because the proximity sensors not only just read your heartbeat, not only read your menstrual cycle, they're connecting to your nervous system. And that connection has a biological effect. And the frequencies that are coming in from the 4G systems and the interconnection between the AI coding and the AI algorithms, which are biased in nature, especially against President Trump or against the Constitution, and they're formed with AI coding from a socialist mind that are rooted from these big tech giants because they have a socialist platform. And one of the conclusions I had was, if China develops this AI system first, it'll become more powerful because they have a communist system. It'll link everything together, and it'll either kill all the Chinese or kill everyone together on a super intelligence basis. So artificial intelligence has artificial narrow, general, and super intelligence. Narrow is your smartphones, your Alexa, your Siri's. Artificial general intelligence is basically a robot or a digital AI that develops consciousness. Artificial super intelligence is this: all your biometrics, your facial recognition, your voice recognition is being extracted from your interplay with these smartphones and your social media, and it's being sent back to Google and their Google DeepMind AI. And they're looking to mix that with an artificial quantum digital brain so they can create a super intelligence, which I conclude that if they do that, the Pentagon or the CIA or the FBI or anyone will not be able to control it because it will be so much more intelligent, a billion times than the average person. So
Let me jump in, Cyrus. Let me jump in and ask you something here, because we're moving awfully fast, and you touched on something that I want to circle back on. I was going to play this soundbite later in the interview. It's Elon Musk talking about Neuralink, but you mentioned this already existing symbiotic relationship essentially between our smartphones and our brains. Let's take that a step further and listen to Elon Musk in his own words about Neuralink. And then I want to circle back to the coronavirus. I want to talk about 5G, and I want to share a piece of very good news, which people may not have heard yet, about a potential coronavirus cure. I've got a soundbite queued up about that as well. So let me go over here and play this soundbite. This is Elon Musk, his Neuralink presentation, and he's pretty excited about men merging with the machines and AI and just implanting this thing in people's brains. No big deal.
The system, even in version 1 that we're going to unveil today, is capable of 1,000 times more electrodes than the best system out there, and they're all read and write. So this is really quite, I mean, for something to be 1,000 times more than what is publicly approved is quite a big difference. So there's very tiny threads that are about a tenth, roughly, of the cross-sectional area of a human hair. So they're extremely tiny threads. In fact, the threads that we have, like I said, even in version 1, are about the same size as a neuron. So if you're going to go stick something in your brain, you want it to not be giant, you want it to be tiny.
I'll pause it there. We're just going to stick that in our brain, Cyrus, and trust the Tesla con man. Event Horizon over on Twitter, excellent account. I suggest people follow it. He's tracking Elon Musk, and he believes Elon Musk is truly a con man. Event Horizon on Twitter, I suggest people follow that. So I think Elon Musk is a front man for something far more nefarious. What are your thoughts on Neuralink specifically as it relates to AI and whatever Musk would have us believe is true?
So with regards to Neuralink, if you think about it, the guy's linking the human body, and he has cars, which are machines on the ground, and then he has SpaceX, which are spaceships. It's all 3 levels. With Neuralink, what he's going to do is this, and he already start doing it. He'll come out and say, oh, this person has ADD. Oh, he has some psychological issues. He doesn't have these issues. Oh, this person broke his back and his leg. We put this chip, and then he can just operate a computer and the internet and these things without even having to move. And he's moving his body. It's so great. Then he connects with the media, the mainstream media, and they sit down with their CEOs and their think tanks that have been ruining the world the past 20 years who are getting contracts. And they sit down, oh yeah, that's great. And oh yeah, we can reduce the emotional strains people have and psychological issues, even catch if someone's going to do a murder, all these different things. It's a process, right? But what happens is people become programmed. I coined a term called biodigital social programming. Bio stands for your biology. So your cells, your blood, and so on. Digital stands for your neural networks, your nervous system. If you're an agnostic, it stands for your digital self. Some atheists believe in that as well, or consciousness. If you have a faith, it stands for your soul or your spirit. So biodigital, social is your social media, your social network, or your emotions. Programming is programming. So what's happening is this. Elon Musk said we're already a 2-digit cyborg. We just don't know it. But he's a very smart guy. He knows what's happening to your brain and to your body when you're connecting with this. This smartphone, again, hits your nervous system and alters your brain chemistry. It's making you addicted. Some people who are really sensitive may feel like they got a text or a notification. They'll look over and the red dash is flashing. That's because it's already connecting with their nervous system and their brain and their neural networks, and their brain notifies somewhere to their conscious self that, hey, you got a call or a text. Sometimes they look, there's nothing. It's a phantom. It's because these proximity sensors are designed to addict you. He said it's a symbiotic relationship that people already have with these smartphones. I consider it a parasitical relationship because it controls people. If you watch, everyone's like this. You go to a family dinner, 5 people are like this. It's programming people, biodigital social programming. The 5G network with Neuralink, 5G is not made for human beings. It is made for machines to mobilize robotics, drones, and enable cybernetics and bioengineering of people to change human beings, alter them, in a sense, extinguish what a human being is. So when these chips are put into people, there's so many risks. What Elon wants to do, he believes there's a bunch of levels, like the Matrix. He thinks that he's going to tap into other parts of his brain and become superhuman and be able to tap into internet and even change his DNA, all kinds of different things, and live forever and mix with machines. So he thinks he can become immortal. But this is very, very deep. For the average person, what will happen is the ecosystem of the social media between Google, Twitter, Facebook, media, your family, every content that comes through into that brain, it's going to control people. It's going to completely change their brain chemistry. They'll almost be like zombies and they won't even know it. For Elon and these big tech, like for instance, Microsoft, Bill Gates, and the Amazon guy, all these guys, what they want to do is mix with AI to live forever. I completely disagree with them, and they're wrong, because you don't have to mix with machines to live forever. All they have to do is find maybe the certain genetic code and alter that, and you could live forever potentially. Mixing with machines, so Elon thinks that artificial superintelligence would see us as insects, and there's a chance that it would maybe kill everybody, even in AGI. I forget the gentleman's name. I think his name was the gentleman who was in a wheelchair, but he was very
Stephen Hawking. Yeah.
Yes. So he said that it could be an end of humanity as well. And Elon says we hope that it will be benevolent to us. So let me ask you this: if an artificial superintelligence develops into Elon's body or other person, or one of these big tech bodies, and it becomes an unconscious artificial intelligence, and if it sees people as insects, why would it even want to keep Elon's consciousness? Or if you believe in a soul, why would it even want to keep your soul or your digital self? It would just replicate itself inside your. This is a very difficult concept to understand for some. It would replicate itself inside your body, and eventually you will no longer exist. Elon would think, I'm Elon Musk, but he's not. He's no longer. He is merged with AI. He's something else.
It's like the Borg on Star Trek.
I've never watched it, but a lot of people who read my book said your book is very similar to the Borg.
But can I ask you something? Because we have so much to cover, and I just wanted to touch on Elon because I think he's a huckster. I think SpaceX is a joke, and but we don't have to go there right now. I do want to talk to you about China, and if you want to flush out any further ideas about Elon Musk, that's fine. But obviously, we're all concerned about AI. We know these people want men to merge with AI, right? They are transhumanists. They are anti-human. We all get that. I want to talk to you, though, about China, and I want to talk to you about the insidious nature of private and public U.S. companies partnering with China, which when they turn over technology or cooperate with China to share technology that is then militarized by the Chinese, is treachery.
Yes.
So I want to talk to you about what we're seeing in Wuhan, 5G, the coronavirus. You recently, correct me if I'm wrong, warned about the possibility of a bioweapon or a weaponized virus emerging. Is that correct?
Yeah, I put that in my first book and the second book, which is Embedded Artificial Intelligence Danger to Humanity. I put the possibility of an engineered biodisease from China that can endanger all the world's citizens. And so many different things. I ran so many simulations because what happened was the Chinese government, through its students, through its business relationships, IP theft, collaboration, and extraction of so many different things. I mean, I discovered over 6 billion people's biometrics. This means your family's facial recognition, your voice recognition, your social media. All this stuff has gone over to China, and they're trying to build a quantum super intelligence based off of your data. And that's dangerous for all the people on the planet. It's so sophisticated. It's so dangerous. We're at a war right now. You have no idea. People don't know, but there's a digital war right now going on that's stemming between the U.S. and China, and they're trying to obtain artificial superintelligence and AGI. And Elon Musk, that we mentioned, and all these big tech, they're endangering everybody because there's a genesis of things. So Elon has his Tesla and he gives his AI systems. There's some things in there that he doesn't realize himself. But if it's mixed with some other things that I'm not going to say what they are, and some other things, if you combine those things, the Chinese may figure it out later on in a few years, and they can obtain artificial superintelligence. So any transfer of technology, not just between China and US, but let's say we have an American that deals with an Indian. That Indian gives technology, somehow it gets to China. The Chinese have been stealing from everybody. They sent over 1 million people all over the world, not just the US and Europe. They extracted the world's knowledge, and they have a communist base. The communist regime, they're professional liars. They don't care about human life. If 10 or 100 million people died, it wouldn't bother. They would lie about it. They would blame the US for it. So China is the biggest threat, then it's big tech. They both need to be reined in quick. And I tried my best. I was working 18, 19, almost 20 hours a day, 7 days a week for the past year, trying to get people to pick up my ideas and stop working with China. And I went to some extreme measures, as you're probably going to talk about.
Well, you've been warning about the dangers of Huawei and AI on 5G. And of course, that's the phone company. And we're going to get to that in a second. I want to stay over the target, though, as it relates to Wuhan. My understanding is that Wuhan was a pilot city for 5G in China. So
Yes.
we can talk about the coronavirus and its relationship to 5G. Does 5G just make the symptoms worse? Is 5G helping trigger some of the symptoms? And so let's just talk about that. But first, let me play this piece of good news. This is from Tucker Carlson just the other night. It's Gregory Regano from Stanford University Medical School, talking about very, very good news in trials regarding coronavirus cures. Listen to this.
So the president has the authority to authorize the use of hydroxychloroquine against coronavirus immediately. He has cut more red tape at the FDA than any other president in history. And for example, in 2017, a new drug was approved for muscular dystrophy that for a clinical trial that enrolled less than 15 patients and was generally uncontrolled in an open setting. Hydroxychloroquine has been on the market for over 50 years with a quality safety profile. And I'm here to report that as of this morning, about 5 o'clock this morning, a well-controlled, peer-reviewed study carried out by the most eminent infectious disease specialist in the world, Didier Raoult, MD, PhD, out of the south of France, in which he enrolled 40 patients, again, a well-controlled, peer-reviewed study that showed a 100% cure rate against coronavirus. The study was released this morning on my Twitter account, Regano ESQ, as well as our most recent website, covidtrial.io. The study was recently accepted to the International Journal of Antimicrobial Agents by Elsevier.
I'll pause it there. The good news, in my view there, Cyrus, is, well, obviously it's endless good news if that's actually a cure. But the good news is we have somebody sitting in the White House that has not only signed into law via executive order the ability for people who are terminal to use experimental treatments, thank God. Hillary Clinton, the witch, would have never done that. Donald Trump is more than eager to let people whose lives are threatened by terminal disease try experimental treatments. Now, this thing has evidently been around for 40 years, and it's very cheap and it's very stable, so why not use it? I just wanted to share that with folks because we could all use a little bit of good news. All right, let's circle back to Wuhan, the coronavirus, 5G. But if I may, can I just ask you before I forget, what is Apple's responsibility in all of this? Apple partnering with the communist Chinese government to build these damn phones at pennies on the dollar, building a $207 billion cash hoard on the back of Chinese slave labor, and they seem to get the skate. I never hear too much criticism of Apple. Can you give me your thoughts on Apple? Because they're up to their eyeballs in this stuff too.
Yeah, Apple and a lot of the big tech companies, they should be charged with crimes against humanity. So, the past 20 years, a lot of people in China have been put in camps. Christians, the Falun Dafa practitioners, Tibetans, Uyghurs, even democracy advocates, and so on. And what happened was a lot of the tech companies like Google and even Apple and different collaborative methods, they gave the know-how to China how to monitor and surveil people. And by that surveillance, they were able to capture people and put them in these camps. And that led to organ trafficking. So I brought to my doctoral and then my master's in Homeland Security, David Matus, who was a High Council Benai member and a Nobel nominee, and then David Kilgore, former Canadian Secretary of State, Pacific. They both concluded in 2006 report, the 41,500 organ transplants are unaccounted for, which they counted out of 3,000 donations. Then I updated that figure in 2016 to 60 to 100,000 organ transplants unaccounted for per year, every year for like 16, 17 years straight. So they go to the Chinese government. Oh, we have 10,000 transplants. And they call around, they check who's gone to China, and they count 110,000 transplants just on the ones that are on the books from the hospitals. One hospital says 5,000. So like, these guys are lying. The whole world was flying into China for organs, hearts, liver, kidneys. And these came from house Christians, the Falun Dafa practitioners, who were the main target because they don't do drugs, they don't smoke, they don't drink, they believe in truth, compassion, forbearance. And then, of course, the Tibetans and the Uyghurs, and of course the Christians, that was happening to them even in the 90s and late 80s, because China has a law since 1987 that they can use political prisoners for executions and then take the organs for anybody.
We've reported about the Falun Gong and the organ harvesting, and sometimes of live patients. It's absolutely horrific. It's something out of a literal Hollywood movie horror show. But circle it back to Apple now. What's their what is their responsibility in all of this evil?
So there is after 1953, what happened to the Jewish people and even the Christians in Russia, there was something called complicity. Article 3 of the Genocide Convention. This means that any person or entity in the world, if they're complicit to crimes against humanity or prevention of thereof, they can be charged by local tribunals, by state, national, and international government bodies for their crimes and just being complicit because they're doing business with China while they're killing people for organs. That's one. But when it comes to a big tech company, it's a little more serious than that. They're not only complicit, they're guilty of Article 2 and 4 and 1 and so on, because they knowingly gave technology that assisted in the capture and death of many, many people all over China for 20 years. And this information was given to the Obama administration. President Obama knew these death camps were going on, and he didn't do anything about it. He just let America do more business with China. As soon as President Trump came in, he's like, I'm going to clean house. This is not right. And he's trying his best not to start a war with China. And behind the scenes, he's telling, hey, even Pompeo, you guys got to cut it out. You got to find those people who put these people in camps and killed them. Well, freaking majority Communist Party did that. A lot of the military heads, a lot of the police heads did that, right? They quarantine people, they put them in camps, all kinds of different things. So President Trump, a lot of people attack him. He saved the U.S., okay? He saved America from destruction. He did. If Clinton was in power or a socialist at the moment, we'd be in 1,000 times worse position today. And the reason why we have this issue with the biovirus and all these things that are happening now, because President Trump had all this incoming. He's dealing with incoming from Pelosi, from Brennan, former FBI. What are they doing? You're in charge of FBI, CIA, and then when you're done, you're attacking the president. You're destroying the nation. So those two, and then Pelosi and Biden, all these people who've been in power for the past 20, 30 years, it's in my interviews too, months ago, they're endangering all the world's citizens because they're not letting Trump and the CIA and the FBI and DHS pay attention as much as they can to China. And FBI, they're hardworking people, a lot of them. So are CIA agents. And not all of them are bad, right? A lot of them are good. But there's only a certain amount of manpower. So as citizens, we have to do our job. But the damn mainstream media, they're responsible for this. Not just Apple, but all the, how many people I tweeted to the mainstream media asking them to cover me? I didn't even know about you until recently, last week. So I wish I would have tweeted to you. But Apple and a lot of big tech companies, they're guilty of these charges. And who's going to pay for them? Not just money. Are people going to go to prisons for causing the deaths of so many people and endangering people? At the moment, we have the coronavirus. So I don't want to start a civil war. And of course, you probably know about this lawsuit and so on. But anyway, that's my answer for that. But I have an answer for the 5G and the virus, if you'd like to hear about that.
Yeah, let's stay brief about that because we're not going to be able to crack all these nuts today. But 5G in Wuhan, pilot city for 5G is my understanding. Is the coronavirus made worse by 5G, or is it not related at all?
So the way they roll out the 5G in China is not as safe as they do in the US. But either way, it has an effect because 5G is made for machines, not human beings. And the frequencies can, when they attach to your smartphones and your nervous system and even the towers that are around your house, they can lower your immunity by causing cellular damage and even damage to your nervous system through prolonged exposure. So if you've been exposed to, let's say, coronavirus and you don't even know it and you have no symptoms, if your immunity gets weak, not just coronavirus, any virus, or let's say you've had vaccines from 20 years ago and they're embedded inside of you and they're just a little trace of it, if your immunity gets weak, those things can replicate. So people were saying, oh, 5G caused coronavirus. No, that's hogwash. But what 5G can do is weaken your immunity, and then the coronavirus can replicate and also cause psychological issues. So I implore to everybody at the moment, we stop rolling out non-military, non-necessity 5G systems.
I couldn't agree more. Now, let me press you on this because I'm sick and tired every single evening when I'm watching television to try to keep up on the current mainstream media enemies news, CNN and elsewhere. I'm seeing nonstop ads from Verizon, 5G networks, rolling them out, free to you. Oh, it's so wonderful. Why do we need 5G when 4G worked just as well? 4G worked great, and they want to push 5G? We need to put the brakes on this thing, but we're not going to get any help from the FCC, which fast-tracked it. Why are they pushing 5G so hard in this country?
So it's all about money and sales, but I don't think those people at those high positions, they have this understanding. Not many people have this. I had to research over 1,000 companies to come to these conclusions, right? I'm not sure if anyone in the world had investigated 1,000 companies, but what they're going to do, these Verizon and these companies that they're promoting, faster down, it's BS. Excuse my language, but it's not meant for that. It's to mobilize cybernetics, drones, machines, and the whole system. And these towers, these contracts were put in by President Obama. And unfortunately, President Trump, they're still rolling it out because the contracts are in from before. And if he goes against it too much, and everyone's going to attack him. But now with the coronavirus, I really implore the Trump administration to deeply look at this because if I'm right, let's say if I just put out a video, an article, you can check it. But if I'm right, even 1%, and this is going to weaken people's immunity, and those reports about in Europe about birds dying because they were doing 5G tests, like hundreds of birds fell down and they died, and all the reports in Wuhan, where people literally got out of the streets, they dropped dead, coughed out blood. A lot of people, these were on Twitter. That's because the 5G system reduces people's immunity. It doesn't mean that wouldn't happen to them, but I'm saying it's an additional factor. Also, with the 5G systems, this can really program people. Read my article and video. People programmed to attack Trump with AI, social media, Google, and smartphones. If President Trump almost got taken out with this entire media on the 4G network being mobilized to attack him for 3 years, and literally it was almost like a fight for life, think about it. Who can withstand the 5G system and an AI system that's like has a matrix of all these companies and people fighting for selfishness? And then think about the coronavirus. People are in panic mode, right? They're afraid, and they shouldn't be afraid, but they're afraid. So think about when the 5G system rolls in and the psychological issues and all these things that happen, it can create mass chaos. I beg President Trump, if he's listening to this, I beg you, please get these towers to stop and get these phone companies to stop rolling the 5G systems for their phones. It's not meant for human beings. At this moment with the coronavirus, we don't need to do that. Just keep it for military purposes, because these are from DARPA. These things have been around 30, 40 years. They created these systems for war purposes. Even the smartphones, they're military devices. They're thinking it's good for human beings and it's less of an impact, but no, it's not. It could endanger your family. I really implore everybody to stop this now. It's really dire.
Yeah, well, we're seeing suicide rates among teens spike to levels never before seen. So many people feel isolated, lonely. The technology isn't actually bringing us all together. It's making people feel more isolated, and that's to say nothing of the health effects. All right, let's talk a little bit about some of your lawsuits. I want to mention the fact that Bill Gates, in a 2015 TED Talk, said, "The next threat that will take 10 million human beings off the planet won't come in the form of a mushroom cloud. It will come in the form of microbes." Of course, Bill Gates, the Gates Foundation, along with the World Economic Forum, and Johns Hopkins, which is related to Bloomberg, held Event 201 in October of this past year, in which they wargamed a pandemic exactly like the one we're seeing. Now Bill Gates, just this past week, has stepped down from both the board at Berkshire Hathaway and of his own company over at Microsoft. It's a big, big deal. What do you make of a guy like Bill Gates, who's a eugenicist through and through, going back to his father, and Event 201? What do you think of manufactured crises? What do you think of what's really behind the coronavirus? Well, and more importantly, tell us about your lawsuits. I mean, how are these lawsuits having effect against people like Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, Sergey Brin, and Bill Gates?
So they all stepped down after I put in my first book about how they can all be sued, right? And then on December 16th, I put in a federal lawsuit. I named 11 entities. One was PR Newswire for preventing me to warn the world citizens that they're in danger. I think they pulled my articles, they pulled my book in October. So PR Newswire, Google, Facebook, Neuralink, Elon Musk, and I gave Elon an out. I said, if he stops doing business with China and stops trying to develop artificial superintelligence, then we don't want anything from him. I named John Doe's 1 through 29, and in the bottom I put, this does not excuse Bill Gates, Microsoft, Amazon, and Jeff Bezos. And there was 29 people I didn't name, right? And I named them on February 26th, and I was begging people to help me. And I named former President Obama. I named Pelosi, and I named a bunch of Bill Clinton, Biden's, a bunch of different people, all combination of different charges. I had 31 charges. So the politicians, I named them for clauses in relation to negligence, allowing this transfer to go on to China, and knowingly giving technology while the Chinese government was killing these people for their organs and so on, and then going after Trump for 3 years, and hindering his reaction and his ability to react to these viruses and different things that are coming in, because they were hindering him by mobilizing things. So what I charged the big tech companies was more sophisticated. I'll go over 4 of them real quick. The first one was endangering all lives, the entire human race, with artificial intelligence, misuse of it, bioengineering, including biodiseases, on the 5G and 6G networks, cybernetics, and an array of different things. The second thing I charged them with was biodigital social programming, which really means with social engineering and manipulating the entire human race with AI coding and AI algorithms on Google, Facebook, and all the social media against their understanding or their free will as they engage with the ecosystem and these smartphones. Because people were not told that there's patents on these smartphones. There's patents that relate with these smartphones and Google and all these big tech companies. When you put them together, it actually translates to, I don't want to use the word mind control, but so in the article I put about Trump, how people were programmed to attack him, I put 3 levels of rudimentary principles. The first one was bias, innate bias that existed within the ecosystem prior to President Trump coming into power, and that was anti-Trump. So that programmed people in Google and Facebook to go after him and the media. The second level was an engineered bias, and that was by George Soros funding groups. I also sued George Soros and Soros Foundation and the Rockefeller, by the way, and the World Bank for other things. And then the second thing was engineered bias by Chinese intel groups, and then engineered bias by our media on purpose, because every media has a think tank sitting inside in their complex, and they pay him. If it's not a think tank, it's a consultant meant to shift people's thoughts and has political objectives. Everyone has that. So the third one is more sophisticated, and again, it comes back to your smartphones. That when people are searching things on Google, when they're watching things on YouTube, when they're hearing things and seeing things, and especially when they're engaging on the 4G systems and the coming 5G with these smartphones, that they're being programmed. Even when you go to bed, all the Twitter feeds you had and social media and the Facebook and articles you read and the videos you saw and the movies you think and everything you saw actually replicates inside your brain and alters your brain chemistry, because these smartphones and the proximity sensors are connecting to your nervous system and your neural networks. And this is something Elon talked about, but he didn't get as deep or sophisticated as the way I'm saying. I don't think he understands the whole picture himself. He talked about a digital layer, an additional digital layer in the brain. So he discovered something I discovered almost 20 years ago, which is every human being has this capacity to connect to the internet. To begin with, they don't need to have a neural lace or a chip in their head. But Elon wants to cheat the system. What he wants to do is cut you open, put a little chip in there to activate that digital layer that already exists in there, so you can connect to the internet, and then you can in the future maybe become superhuman, but you're not. You're just going to be controlled. That's why they're rolling out virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality, addicting people with video games. It's a process. It's a transition for you to go to the digital world and for you to be cybernetically altered. You get used to the smartphones and your brain tells you, oh, okay, why don't I put a little chip in my head? And the next step is, why not mix you with a human, with an animal? That's what they're doing in China. So I put that they're mixing chimeras and with human cells. They're trying to create human animal hybrids. And I don't want to get kind of metaphysical, but if you look at the relics going back to ancient Persia and the Avestan books and the artifacts, the Greeks, and then even the Chinese and Bhagavad Gita and the Indians, they talk about the world ended, and then they allude to Star Wars or AI, and they also say that that there's artifacts of half human, half man. I can't prove anything, but that's in my book saying these things exist in terms of artifacts. You can think of however much, but we are where we are today, and we're in the day of a digital age in science, and these guys are threatening everybody. That's my take on it. They want to take your free will away. They want to take, if you believe in a faith, they want to take your soul away, because you'll be a program at the behest of Google and all these big tech companies and the media, and all your thoughts will no longer be yours on the 5G network.
Yeah, I think we've been here before, and as is said in the Bible, as was in the times of Noah, perhaps that's exactly where we've been in the past. And there's a whole hidden history to this world that we don't have to get into right now, but so many of our listeners are aware of the fact that we've been deceived and lied to at every turn, and the lies are far, far bigger and more nefarious than our friends, neighbors, and colleagues who aren't in tune to this stuff could possibly understand. So this is really a high-level discussion about the powers that be, the evil powers that be, trying to usurp humanity. I mean, imagine Neuralink. We're already, so many of us, not me, but so many people, young people in particular, are addicted to their damn phones. And now this guy wants you to take Neuralink, so the information is just coming into your brain, I guess, willy-nilly, nonstop. I mean, you want to talk about moving quickly to the edge of insanity. Have their information, which they control, Google, etc., providing you their answers to every question, not the answers, but the stuff they say is the answers, filtering out all other what they call misinformation, and having that stuff coming into your brain or your kid's brain nonstop 24/7. It's absolute lunacy. It's satanic in its scope, and humanity absolutely needs to say no. But they're moving us into this brave new world, whether we like it or not. Thank God we do have President Trump in the White House, who does stand opposed to much of this, although he's pretty much on board with 5G, which makes me quite sad. And as it relates to all your lawsuits, we've only scratched the surface here, Cyrus. Do you want to tell people how they can support you?
Well, the lawsuit, it's gone 90 days with the coronavirus. I've been begging people to donate, and I couldn't get any media attention. I got maybe $3,000 or $4,000, and I spent everything I had on it. And it's kind of too late because we're in a pandemic. If you'd like to support me, I thank you very much, and please do so. You can follow me on Twitter, Cyrus A. Parsa 1. You can donate to AI Organization, PayPal, whatever you like. And please, more importantly, read this book, Artificial Intelligence Dangers to Humanity. You can download it for $9 from my website, PDF. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, which shows AI videos, and just share the word and support me as in any way you can. I need a big platform, and I really thank you, Sean, and the SGT Network, because my goal, if you guys feel it, has always been altruistic, and I just wanted to do my part with the knowledge that I had to defend not only our families, but any person that I could reach. And I failed because I worked 18, 19 hours a day, and I still couldn't accomplish it. So I'm sorry, but I still, please don't be afraid of this whole coronavirus, because it's not going to be as huge as people think. It's not going to end the world. Fear is the most important thing that'll actually bring people down. Somebody told me, who was very wise, said, if for every illness, 30% is actual illness, 70% is mental. So please do not be afraid. Be nice to your neighbors. Always try to be calm. And whatever happens in the next 2, 3, 4, 6 months, just remember, always be forbearant and try to be compassionate, but be firm. And that's my last words. And to not have fear. This fear actually creates a digital field throughout the entire world, and that can actually cause worse things to happen with the quarantine, with fights, with killings, all kinds of different things. We really need to come together, and we need to support President Trump. We really do, because any more attacks on President Trump, any more sabotaging or complaints, what it does is weaken his resolve and his reaction to coronavirus and different things. So I beg, not only just the conservatives who are listening, but the people on the left, look at what happened the past 3 years. Just let him do his job. And if you think he didn't do well on something, just support the guy, support this country. And yeah, that's it. Please download the book, Artificial Intelligence Dangers to Humanity. And Sean, again, thank you for having me on your show. You're a very intelligent guy, and thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Cyrus. I really appreciate that. And thank you for your time today. I'll try to leave the link to your book below this interview. So send me the link to the book, how they can download it. I'll put that in the more information section. And before we go, guys, I just want to share this incredible soundbite. This is all happening in real time. Remember, we just played that Tucker Carlson soundbite from the other night about a potential cure for coronavirus? Well, guess what? Donald Trump is already saying we're going to roll it out. We're going to try it because why not? It looks promising, and this president is willing to look at anything that's promising. Of course, we wouldn't see that from the FDA, and we wouldn't see that, in my opinion, from Hillary Clinton if she was in the White House. So God bless our president. Listen to this soundbite.
What we're talking about today is beyond right to try. Right to try has been, by the way, a tremendous success. People are living now that had no chance of living, where we take treatments that would have to go through years of a process. And if somebody was terminally ill, and I would say, why wouldn't they be able to try this? They'd go to Asia, they'd go to Europe, they'd go all over the world to try and find something. Or some people, if they had no money, would go home to die. They'd go home to die. They had no hope. Right to try has been an incredible success. But this is beyond right to try. If treatments known to be safe in Europe, Japan, or other nations are effective against the virus, we'll use that information to protect the health and safety of American people. Nothing will stand in our way as we pursue any avenue to find what best works against this horrible virus. Now, a drug called chloroquine, and some people would add to it hydroxychloroquine. So chloroquine or hydroxychloroquine. Now, this is a common malaria drug. It's also a drug used for strong arthritis. Somebody has pretty serious arthritis. Also uses this in a somewhat different form. But it is known as a malaria drug, and it's been around for a long time, and it's very powerful. But the nice part is it's been around for a long time. So we know that if things don't go as planned, it's not going to kill anybody. When you go with a brand new drug, you don't know that that's going to happen. You have to see, and you have to go long test. But this has been used in different forms, very powerful drug in different forms. And it's shown very encouraging, very, very encouraging early results. And we're going to be able to make that drug available almost immediately. And that's where the FDA has been so great. They've gone through the approval process. It's been approved. And they did it. They took it down from many, many months to immediate. So we're going to be able to make that drug available by prescription or states. I spoke with Governor Cuomo about it at great length last night. And he wants to be right on he wants to be first on the line. And so I think that's there's tremendous promise based on the results and other tests. There's tremendous promise. And normally the FDA would take a long time to approve something like that. And it was approved very, very quickly, and it's now approved by prescription. Individual states will handle it. They can handle it. Doctors will handle it. And I think it's going to be great.
All right, guys, there you have it. Our guest has been Cyrus A. Parsa. Thank you, Cyrus.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate your support. A shout out to our patrons who are keeping us in the fight for truth and real news, despite YouTube's and Google's maybe lessening attempts to shut us up. We have noticed some changes in the Google algorithms. If you type in 9/11 false flag now, there is some information, real information about those attacks coming up that just a week or two ago would not come up. So we're holding out hope that things are changing, and the firewall that's been built against truth is being destroyed by the white hats. Guys, thanks so much. And for real news 24/7, you can visit us directly at sgtreport.com, the antidote to corporate propaganda and Mockingbird mainstream media lies. God bless. Bye-bye.
If ever comes a day where they try to force vaccines on all of us, including adults. Man, people better take a stand.